Well, here we are, ready to throw together a collection of bits and pieces out of the bits box and come up with a miniature to represent a bone devil. So I've got here the main body. This is an old gene stealer. These other bits and pieces, well, I'm not 100% sure what they come from. There's some Tyrannid stuff here, definitely. One of the old bone horses. This head was really interesting as well. I think it was off an old dragon model. No idea what the brand manufacturer was. I have no idea what this tail bit came from. But together, I feel that this collection will work out quite well. These wings, in the Bone Devil description in the monster manual, and from the illustration as well, there's clearly the Bone Devil has wings. Then, with those bits and pieces, I have to start thinking about how I'm going to put them together, of course. And just basically visualizing what might be able to be done with the various bits. Now, I'm going to say my initial need was definitely for a Bone Devil. My party who have just got into Avernus, I wanted them to have a bit of conflict to start off with a Bone Devil, and I didn't have a suitable miniature for that. I'll be honest, I wasn't that enamoured with the design in the monster manual, the visual look anyway, and also I didn't really like the official minis that I could find. And I have to give out a shout out. I did find a cracking website with somebody who has a Patreon. The website is Printable Heroes, and fair play to you, mate. You have a great amount of stuff on there that's free for printing out your minis. And I definitely did do that with some of your stuff, and they do look great. Very, very well done. I congratulate you on excellent design there. Go check them out at printableheroes.com. But whilst I was working on this Bone Devil, I became aware of the Skirmish game Reign in Hell, and thanks to guys on Reddit for pointing that one out to me. What a fantastic game that looks. So a big shout out to Reign in Hell as well, the guys who've put that together over at Snarling Badger Studios. And I'm just going to say, guys, if you want an illustrator, if you're ever looking for illustrators, I'm definitely be interested in doing some illustration work for you guys. So the game basically revolves around the idea that you have a cabal of demons, 10, 12 demons, who are going to reassert their philosophy in hell. And it just is perfectly built for my lava terrain, and indeed the hell expansion that I've created in the last couple of videos for my lava terrain setup. So this guy here, not only is he going to be a devil for my D&D campaign, he is probably going to be my devout, the sort of lieutenant for my cabal of demons, for my Reign in Hell skirmishes, which I am seriously looking forward to putting on the table, and I will definitely be giving you a little look at that when that happens. But it's also inspired me to go on and create the rest of the Cabal of Demons, which by and large I hope to show you guys here on YouTube as well as on my Instagram and Patreon and other places. So yeah, I'm really stoked for this game. Okay, so what's going on here in the background? I have been ideating just what's going to go where. I've lightly tacked various parts to the core body there, just with super glue, because I know I can easily snap those back off once I'm happy with what the layout is going to be, and then I can pin properly the parts so that the joins are good, firm and reliable and won't break very easily. And to say, I have dropped this miniature a few times, annoyingly, and it's withstood those falls, so the pinning definitely is a worthwhile practice to have. So pretty much my approach to pinning is to drill the holes in the relevant place. I just use a paperclip, good sturdy paperclip. I've got some brass ones which are a little bit chunkier than the normal ones you get. So make sure to file the two surfaces so that they're going to get a good solid connection when they come together. And then insert your small piece of wire, whatever it is you choose to use, super glue that in, and then push fit the two parts together. Make sure all of the fit works for you, and then using super glue and bicarb as well, although I didn't in this particular instance, but it does give you a much better or a very strong bond. So you can see here I've also pinned now and fitted the tail section and also the wings. They've also been pinned, and just you can see it there, just pushing it into the pre-drilled spot that I've made. So once these are set, they're super strong. As I say, I would always pin any converted part on a miniature if I can. And here in principle is the main mini pretty much done at this point. I did also do a bit of a conversion on one of those arms there. You can just see that hand, you can see the join there still a little, because I knew I wanted it to be holding some kind of banner of some description, or the weapon, whichever. I'm not, at this point I wasn't 100% sure. Now, rain in hell aside, my real purpose for building this mini to start off with was because I wanted a bone devil for my Descent into Avernus campaign. And if any of you have watched any of my older videos, particularly my bone throne, you'll know I have a passion for using my real bones in my builds when I can. As you can see here, I have a reasonable sized box of bones that I've managed to acquire, and I wanted some bony protrusions on this miniature, so I've hunted out a few choice real bones. I think these are the shoulder bones from a rat or a squirrel. There are some, I'm not 100% sure what those parts are, but this was the gem, was a rat jaw bone that I knew was just the perfect piece to just push some extra design into that head, rather than it being the head from the original miniature. So I got the snips out, I chopped off that lower jaw and fit the real rat bone jaw to the mini's head, and I was so pleased with how that came out. Okay, with that little inspired piece of adaptation, I took the rest of the bones that I'd dug out of my box, and I just looked for places to have these protrusions, coming out of the body. That's quite evident in the design aesthetic of the original Monster Manual illustration. And I definitely wanted some of that flavour in this piece. As I dig further into the detailing, I knew at this stage that I wanted the devil to be carrying some form of a banner motif in one hand or claw, and a weapon in the other. So I'd got this old, it's clearly a Warhammer banner. I don't really know what it's from some Chaos mini somewhere, but I just needed a much longer stave for that banner to be on than I think came with the original piece. So just using a barbecue skewer here, getting the right length, shaving it down to the right sort of width and gluing that in, and then I find the right height by just testing it against the mini. I wanted it to be really nice and tall, and snip it off and glue it into place. Now I know that the claw in this instance isn't really grabbing the wooden shaft of that banner. It's a slightly open pose, but to be honest, I really wasn't that worried by that fact. It served the purpose and looked visually exactly what I wanted. And talking of things that I wanted, I also wanted to add some spines to this devil. So good old Milliput was going to serve the purpose. Roll out some pointy-ended sausages. I left them to dry so that they were nice and hard, and I just glued them here and there when the time came. The one thing I did want to do, I wanted to add more of a bone ridge to the head, so I fashioned that directly on the miniature itself, so that could just dry in situ. Whilst I'd also got the milliput out, I also went round and sealed or smoothed out any joins or gaps that were left from the hash together gluing. So that was just a case of getting out the little sculpting tools. Well, the girlfriend's sculpting tools. Well, no, they were my sculpting tools, and then she had them. Anyway, just started pushing those in to smooth out any rough edges. I'm not going to lie, I am quite partial to double-ended weapons. I like to see blades on the end of both ends of a weapon. Whether they're practical or not, I don't know, but I like the look of them. So most of the weapons I design tend to have that. I think you may have seen that in my Sylvaneth minis I was putting together. So basically, I found a couple of suitable ends, and I was fortunate enough to find a staff that had a hand gripping it as well. So I actually ended up snipping off the hand that was on the Gene Stealer already, that Gene Stealer base, and using the hand that was already on this so that it was a good firm grip. Now, I will say, initially, I was just gluing these on in the hope that it would work. I did end up having to go back and pin these two blades because they just kept snapping off. You'll see there that I'd also added the stinger aspect of the Bone Devil to the back end of the tail structure. So all this milliput is dry at this stage, so I just started sanding that down because it was a bit thick and chunky, a bit unsightly, and I wanted to have it look a bit more blade-like itself. And after all that mashing together, it was time to give it a nice undercoat. You will notice there that I did actually change one of those blades on the weapon, and that looked a lot cooler, I thought. But here we go. That's the white primer. I definitely wanted a white because I wanted the colours to stay quite bright. And then hit it with a red zenithal highlight. I'm just using zenithal as the technique, just hitting it with a red from above and then the sort of turquoise colour from below, as I did with my Chaos Bloodletters. I just want to build these colours up simply in layers. So over that red, now it's dry, I'm just airbrushing more of a sort of orangey yellow. I don't think it's worth stating specific colours. You should go with your gut instinct on these kind of things, not be bothered too much about which exact colour are being used. You can see here I went back in and I gave a much heavier, sort of lighter turquoise sprayed from below. I wanted more of that turquoise in this particular fella here. And then I want to go in with the brush and start picking out all of the bone details, just using a bone white from whoever you choose to buy your bone white from. Or if you choose to mix it. I know it sounds odd that I'm repainting real bone, but actually if you leave real things, they look a little odd if they don't look painted the same as the rest of the mini, whatever you're terrain, whatever you're painting. Don't entirely know why, but I wanted the blades to have a sort of light pale turquoise look as well. So I base painted the blades in the bone colour, then I used a little of that turquoise lightened with a bit of white along the tip of the blade and back about 2/3 of the way along, and then I used a bone white whilst the turquoise was still wet and just brushed up into it using gentle brush strokes, and the two will blend together nicely as a wet blend. I made up a nice dark blue ink just from a blue and a black. Very small amount of black because it'll very easily overpower the colour otherwise. And then just lightly brushed that into the crevices of the banner. The actual colour of the banner itself is just however it turned out from the initial airbrushing. And then add a little water at the bottom of where I've laid the ink so that that ink will have a place to run to, and it'll give a nice mottled look once it dries out. So that's a nice little technique. I also made up a very dark purple wash, and I think this had a mix of purple, a little brown, and again a little black in it. I didn't want a black wash, I wanted something that had a little bit more chroma, and just go over the whole model, just adding that wonderful stage that brings out so much form and definition to the edges of the model. I really do think this dirty colour suited the bone so well. Yeah, I was real happy with how that came out. I wanted to give the wings just a little bit more pop, and I thought I'd bring through some of that fiery glow into some of the segments of the wings themselves. And this little technique I like to do in various places. You've seen me do it on the miniature as well, and that is to add the one colour of the mix, but quite watery, and then take the second colour in the mix, the orange, and just tickle it into that initial wet paint. It's a wet into a wet process that I use in my sort of watercolours when I'm illustrating. But it lends itself quite well to some little subtle details on minis as well. So yeah, give that a go. It's definitely fun, and it's less contrived, I think, sometimes than just saying, oh, I want to get a wet blend. So yeah, there we go. And just while I finish out some of the details here, I really want to say such a big thank you to everybody who comments and subscribes. I'm coming up to nearly a year now on this channel, and I have to say I am blown away by the support it has gotten, by the friends I've made in the different communities, especially those guys over on the Tabletop Dungeoneers Discord. A real big shout out as well to the Beard, because he was a big inspiration and remains so until this day. And through that Discord, I've met so many other creators that have inspired me. And I'm not talking about the big guys. I'm talking about a lot of the little guy channels who just come up with truly inspirational stuff. And of course, the people who comment, I love reading those comments. I will answer all of them. You know, I like to get a conversation going, so please hit me up with a question or just anecdote. It really makes my day. And of course, then there is the big shout out to my patrons. You know, as the months of lockdown have worn on, it's become more and more apparent that I really want to take this to full-time career, bringing you my terrain, my art, and bringing that out to the world. And there's a financial stability required to do that, and it's building. It's definitely getting there. And Patreon, my art courses, my print sales, and as the normality starts to return, attending conventions, becomes a part of that business structure, and I am so stoked to see my creative studio go in this direction. And Patreon, of course, will become a major part of that over time, you know. But if you're out there and you're watching this and you like what I'm doing and you want to support me with just a tiny little bit of financial help, then that is amazing. And honestly, guys, if you just want to come over and follow me, that helps as well. You know, just as it does here on YouTube and on other platforms. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up now and bid you a farewell as I let you take a look at some of the beauty shots. So I'll see you on another tabletop soon. Bye bye.